Sometimes all it takes is one single, tragic event to push an entire nation right to the edge. A moment that just rips open all the fault lines hiding right below the surface. And for Bangladesh, that moment came with the loss of one man.
And this is the man at the heart of it all, Sharif Osman Hadi. In just a few months, his name became a symbol of a whole new generation's hope for change. And now, it's become a symbol of a nation's deep, profound loss.
So a student leader is assassinated, and a country that's already on a political knife's edge just explodes. The big question is, why? Why did the loss of this one life trigger such a massive, immediate firestorm?
To really get it, we have to start by looking at what happened right after. The streets, they instantly became the stage for a nation's grief and its fury.
So when the news broke on December 18th that he had passed away, man, it was like a match hitting gasoline. Almost immediately, huge protests erupted, not just in the capital, Dhaka, but all across the country's major cities. And the feeling wasn't just sadness. It was this raw, powerful, public anger.
And look, this wasn't just chaos in the streets. No. The protesters' demands were crystal clear. They wanted two things, and they wanted them now. First, the swift arrest of whoever was responsible for his murder. And second, they wanted accountability from the authorities they said totally failed to keep him safe.
Which, of course, brings us right back to that big question. Because to understand the protests, you have to understand the man. So, who exactly was Sharif Osman Hadi?
See, his story, it's not just about him. It's really the story of this massive political earthquake that just shook Bangladesh earlier this year. Okay, so he was a prominent student leader, a youth spokesperson. But to really get why he was so important, you have to understand he wasn't just a leader. During that massive uprising back in July of 2024, he became the face of the youth movement. He became a household name.
And he was the voice for a group called Inqilab Mancha, which literally means revolution stage. How fitting is that? Because this wasn't some old-school political party. It was a platform born right out of the protests themselves, which gave it this incredible, authentic connection to the people.
And his rise was, well, it was unbelievably fast. I mean, think about it. In July, students are hitting the streets, right? They're demanding huge political reforms. Just 1 month later, 1 month, Hadi is their main spokesperson, clearly explaining what they wanted to the whole nation. And the result was stunning. By the end of that same month, the prime minister was gone, resigned and fled the country. That's the power of the movement Hadi helped lead.
So, when you're at the center of a movement that big, you become a hero to millions. But you also become a target. And the assassination itself, it was tragically public and politically explosive.
The attack was bold, it was public, and it was absolutely meant to send a chilling message. So what do we know about what went down that day?
Just look at the details the investigators have pieced together. It's chilling. It all happened in broad daylight, right in central Dhaka. Hadi was out campaigning, just traveling in a simple auto rickshaw. Then, a masked attacker on a motorcycle pulls up and opens fire, shooting him directly in the head. This wasn't random. It was a targeted, professional hit. And what came next was just this desperate, heartbreaking race against time to save him. He was rushed into emergency brain surgery in Dhaka. When his condition got worse, he was moved to a more advanced hospital there. And finally, they airlifted him all the way to Singapore for the best treatment possible. But the damage? It was just too severe. After 6 long days on life support, Sharif Osman Hadi died.
You can imagine the shockwaves his death sent through the country's brand new political leadership. They had to respond, and they had to do it fast.
The interim government knew this was a crisis. They acted quickly, declaring a national day of mourning. They ordered flags to be flown at half-mast and called for special prayers all across the country to show just how serious this was. And the country's interim leader, the Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, he really hit the nail on the head. He called Hadi's death an irreplaceable loss to the nation's political and democratic sphere. He was saying this wasn't just a crime, it was an attack on the very future of the country.
But it wasn't just about mourning. There was also this really urgent warning. Yunus begged the public to stay calm. He knew that any widespread violence could give opponents the perfect excuse to completely derail the country's fragile move toward democracy and throw the all-important upcoming elections into chaos.
Okay, so that brings us to the real bottom line here. Why does this one single killing have the potential to change absolutely everything for Bangladesh?
It all comes down to one word: timing. Hadi was killed just weeks, not months, weeks, before Bangladesh was supposed to have its first national election since that incredible uprising he helped lead. The timing couldn't be worse.
So you can see how the impact of this is just massive. It's like throwing gasoline on an already smoldering fire. It raises this terrifying question about security. I mean, if a leader this famous can be gunned down on the campaign trail, is anyone safe? It threatens the very stability of this whole democratic project, and it casts a huge dark shadow over the February elections that were supposed to be a new beginning for the nation.
So in the end, we come back to this image. Sharif Osman Hadi. He was the voice of something new in Bangladesh, a voice that came from the streets, not the old halls of power. And now, that voice has been silenced. The question that hangs over Bangladesh now is, will his death derail the very change he fought for?